Hey everyone! If the topic of tanks, World War II, and questions like who beats who ignite a fire in you like the V2 engine of a T-34 in the cold, you've come to the right place. Before we dive into this abyss of history, metal, and tactics, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel and drop your first question or opinion in the comments. What pisses you off or intrigues you most about tank duels? Every comment you make is a new turn in our conversation. Now, get comfortable, because the story we're breaking down today isn't a dry report. It's a real drama of iron, will, and engineering thought. We'll answer the question that has stirred minds for decades. What would really happen to the Soviet heavyweight, the legendary IS-2, if an armor-piercing shell from the main German beast, the Tiger tank, slammed into its armor? Get ready. It's going to be hot, detailed, and very, very extensive. To understand the essence of this confrontation, you can't just take two numbers, armor thickness and gun power. No, you have to go back to the crucible, to that moment when the fate of the world hung by a thread. The beginning of the Great Patriotic War was a shock for the Red Army, not only because of the surprise of the attack, but also due to the technical superiority of some types of German equipment. Yes, we had tanks that the Germans feared, the legendary T-34s with their sloped anti-shell armor and the seemingly invulnerable heavy KVs. Remember the story about one KV that held off an entire division for a day? That was a miracle. But miracles, alas, rarely become the system. Here we come to the first important historical and economic context. The Soviet KV-1 and its younger brother, the KV-1S, despite the title of heavy, essentially carried a medium-caliber gun, the same 76 millimeters as the T-34. Why? The answer lies in the logic of war and industrial capabilities. A country that lost colossal territories, factories, and millions of people in the first months was working at its limit. Producing a heavy tank isn't just about using more iron. It's different logistics. Not all bridges can handle it. Different machine tools, different resources. The bet was placed on mass production and technological simplicity. The T-34, brilliant in its efficiency and reproducibility, became the main workhorse of the war. And the KV, with its monstrous armor for the early war, played the role of an invulnerable battering ram. But by 1943, the game had changed. Germany, having received a painful slap in the face at Moscow and getting caught in the meat grinder at Stalingrad, bet on qualitative superiority. Its military machine, which could no longer compete with the resurgent Soviet and burgeoning American production in quantity, gave birth to wonder weapons, Wunderwaffe. And in tank forces, these were the Panther and, the main hero of our duel, the Tiger. The Tiger was the answer to all questions. The most powerful 88mm gun, with the ballistics of an anti-aircraft gun, and let's remember, the Germans shot down planes with these guns too, and very thick armor, mostly vertically arranged, but its thickness made it almost invulnerable to most Allied tanks at medium and long ranges. Its appearance at the Battle of Kursk in the summer of 1943 was a cold shower. Our tankers and artillerymen quickly realized the Tiger's front was almost impenetrable to the standard 76mm gun. An adequate response was needed, and it came. By the end of that same year, 1943, the IS-2, Iosif Stalin, rolled onto the battlefield. And this wasn't just another heavy tank. It was a philosophical and engineering revolution. If the KV was an armored elephant with a medium gun, the IS-2 became a fighter with a heavy caliber. Its main trump card was the huge 122mm D-25T gun howitzer. Its shell weighed nearly 25 kilograms. Imagine the impact force. But the main point, why? The tank's creators thought strategically. The tank was created not only, and not so much, for duels with its peers. Its tasks were destroying heavily armored targets, like Tigers and Panthers, demolishing long-term fortifications, pillboxes, bunkers, supporting infantry during urban assaults. This was a sledgehammer tank, a breakthrough tank. And its frontal armor was specially reinforced, first to 120mm, and also with rational angles of slope, and later they switched to a cast frontal section, which was even stronger than the welded one. It was designed to withstand hits from standard German 75mm PaK-40 anti-tank guns at long ranges. It excelled at this task. But the Tiger didn't have a PaK-40. It had that legendary 88mm KWK-36 gun. And here we approach the main intrigue. Imagine a field near Prokhorovka. No, not the massive one, but somewhere on the outskirts, in a forest or near a village edge. An IS-2 is standing 1.5 kilometers away. From behind a hill, slowly, like a harbinger of fate, a tiger crawls out. What happens? Who beats who? Let's figure it out without myths or shouts of Yura or Aktung. The first thing to throw out of your head is a duel in an open field, like musketeers. That was a casuistic rarity in real war, almost never. Tanks operated as part of units, covered by infantry artillery. Their position was chosen wisely. But if we abstract and imagine this duel as a scientific experiment, we have unique data. After the war, at the Kubinka testing ground, Soviet engineers meticulously, piece by piece, analyzed captured equipment. And they tested their own against it. What did these tests show? Front-to-front armor versus shell. When the Tiger's 88mm armor-piercing shell met the frontal armor of the IS-2, that same one, 120mm thick, and sloped, the following happened. The armor held. The shell did not penetrate it at common combat ranges. It could leave a deep dent, strip the paint, cause spalling on the inside, so-called scabbing, which could wound the crew with fragments, but there was no through penetration. This was a huge success for Soviet engineers. The IS-2 crew in such a case remained alive. The tank remained operational. And this despite the same shell at the same ranges easily dispatching T-34s and KVs. But war is treacherous. Shells don't only hit the front. The Achilles heel, the side and rear. Here the picture changed dramatically. The side armor of the IS-2, although reaching 90mm in some places and less on the turret, was much more vulnerable to the mighty 88. The same post-war tests, but, according to some reports conducted by the Germans themselves on a captured IS, showed a frightening picture. From a distance of 2,600 meters, that's over 2.5 kilometers, the Tiger's shell confidently penetrated the side of the Soviet heavyweight. Imagine that number, 2,600 meters. In most modern computer games, such distances aren't even rendered. But the Tiger could, from such a distance, remaining almost invulnerable to return fire from many tanks, methodically shoot down heavy IS tanks if they exposed their sides. This was its terrible advantage, phenomenal accuracy and firepower at range. But that's not all. Let's remember economics and tactics. Germany produced about 1,300 Tiger I tanks during the entire war. The USSR produced about 3,800 IS-2s. The numbers speak for themselves. The German beast was a piecemeal, expensive, complex to repair and maintain weapon of elite units. The Soviet IS-2, while a powerful machine, was more technological, simpler, relatively, and produced in much greater numbers. It was a soldier, not an aristocrat, and therein lay its strength. It could afford the luxury of operating in close cooperation with infantry and other tanks, where its vulnerable sides were covered. And what about our giant? How did it respond? It responded with that monstrous 122mm shell. And here we come to the most interesting psychological and physical aspect of the duel. Even if the IS-2's shell did not penetrate the Tiger's frontal armor, which was difficult at ranges over a kilometer, the consequences of a hit were catastrophic for the German crew. Imagine, a 25-kilogram projectile slams into your turret, which weighs several tons. Even if the armor holds, the impact energy is colossal. German tankers who encountered IS tanks later described it as hell. Huge chunks of armor spalled off from the inside, that secondary fragmentation effect. Mechanisms tore from their mounts, optics shattered. The crew suffered severe concussions, often incompatible with further combat. One hit, and the Tiger turned into a stunned, blind metal beast, its crew in a panic, bleeding from ears and nose. And the next shell could finish it off. Breach the armor, cause the ammunition to detonate. Often, one accurate hit was enough. So who won this duel? The answer, as always in war, lies in the details and circumstances. If the IS-2 managed to take a good position, present its powerful front to the enemy, and fire an accurate shot first, the Tiger was in very, very deep trouble. The odds leaned in favor of the Soviet tank. If the Tiger caught the IS-2 by surprise, from the flank or from a long distance, and hit the side, the IS crew had every chance of not surviving. The advantage of German optics and ballistics at long range was enormous. If the meeting happened in a city or on difficult terrain, where distances shortened to a few hundred meters, the monstrous power of the IS-2's gun and its armor-piercing, and especially high-explosive shells gave it a colossal advantage. One shot at a building sheltering infantry or a gun, and the problem was solved. Therefore, calling the IS-2 simply a tank is an understatement. It was a heavy assault tank, a fortress destroyer, and when used skillfully, a formidable opponent for any beast from the German menagerie. It wasn't invulnerable. Yes, its side could be penetrated from horrific distances, but it was an adequate, mass-produced, and terrifyingly powerful response to the challenge of heavy German tanks. It symbolized the Red Army's transition from defense to strategic offense, when it was necessary not just to defend, but to break through the enemy's deeply echeloned defenses. So there you have it, friends. The story of the IS-2 tank versus Tiger shells isn't a story about an impenetrable superweapon. It's a story about engineering compromise, about tactics, about the industrial capabilities of entire nations, and about the incredible courage of crews who went into battle knowing both the strengths and weaknesses of their iron steeds. It's a story about how intellect, will, and industrial might broke the back of a technological monster. What do you think? Which tactic, in your opinion, was more correct? The German bet on supertanks or the Soviet one on a powerful but more mass-produced and technological IS-2? Write in the comments. And if this deep dive ignited your interest, if you want us to keep digging this deep into the history of technology and battles, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your like and subscription are the best reward for this work and a guarantee that we'll continue. Every new topic is a new challenge, and we'll tackle it together. Until next time, in the epicenter of history.